Hello everybody, welcome to our live tonight with Mary Paxton and Little Dreamers. I am so excited to do our Q&A and I'm so glad we already have some people tuned in. Yay! Okay, so really quick, I just wanted to kind of let you know what's happening. I think I have a blog post coming out tomorrow. I should get confirmed, so I'll post about it. But it's going to be super awesome. My friend, well, I say my friend, but technically she's just a client, I feel like all of my clients after I work with them are just my friends now. So yeah, my friend now. She is writing a review for me up on her blog. So I'm hoping that I can get the link to that and share that tomorrow and have you guys kind of see a little bit of her perspective of what it's like to work with me. And she did not get the full-blown deal, but she did get to work with me and get some help that way. So look for that. Other exciting news, I will be up on Studio 5, I believe, on Thursday, unless something changes. So I'll be recording on Thursday. I think it airs on Friday. And then I'll also be doing the Mom Show for KSL Radio, and I believe that airs Sunday at noon. I think that's when it airs. So I know it airs on like FM 100, and you can always get it on iTunes as well. It's called The Mom Show. The KSL Mom Show, or I don't know, The Mom Show on KSL. How about that? So super excited about those. We're going to be talking about sickness and sleep and how to keep your sleep intact with all the sickness that's going around. I've heard that this year is like the worst flu season for like all of the US. So flu's awful. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that on Studio 5. And then with the Mom Show, we're going to be talking all things toddlers. So when do we drop that nap? How do we transition out of the crib? What do we do when they're getting out of their bed? What about, early wake-ups? And if you've been following along, on my mind's been a lot of potty training and sleep stuff because that's what we're dealing with at my house. So we're just going to get into all of it. It's a full hour show, so it's going to be awesome. Super excited about those. So look for those coming up. And if you are interested in working one-on-one with me, please let me know. I'd love to work with you. I have some awesome packages, awesome deals, and I even do custom deals. So custom packages. So if you're not seeing something that fits your needs, just reach out and let's talk and see what we can come up with that will work for your price range and what you're looking for and everything that you need. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, when you get here, give me a shout out, say hi. I see that Jessica's here, which is awesome. Tell me who you are. Hopefully, we get a lot of people that have submitted questions. We get a lot of people jumping in too. So I'd love to know who's out there watching. So just give me a hi, a love, a like, and let's get started, okay? Okay, so our first question comes from Megan Haley, and she says, I forget, I have to write down my time so that I can write my outline after. Okay, so Megan Haley, and she says, my 3.5, almost 4-month-old was sleeping 7 to 7 and has started waking up at around 5 a.m. I've been treating this like a night feed, but it's been harder and harder to get him back to sleep in his crib. We finally get him back to sleep, and then he wakes up less than an hour or so, around 6:30, 6:45. Any tips for getting him back on track? Our goal has been to start the day around 7:30, but we're moving further away from that. Okay, hopefully he's not just an early riser, Megan, but he might be. Hopefully not, right? Hopefully we can get him back to the 7:30. But one thing I would suggest doing is I'd stop treating that 5 a.m. wake up as a night feeding, and I would stop going in between the hours of 5 to 6, or if you're going to try and start your day at 7, then I'd stop going in at those hours because that's the lightest sleep for a baby, and so he's not treating that as a night waking. He's treating that as hey, I'm ready to get up. I think I'm ready to get up. You're here. You're giving me energy. I'm getting excited for the day. So seeing you isn't helping him sleep longer, if that makes sense. She also goes on to say, also naps are inconsistent and a struggle. Some days he sleeps 45 minutes only all day long. Sometimes we randomly get 1.5 to 2 hours. Finding it hard to keep his schedule. And on the days he takes short naps, he only ends up with about 3 hours of day sleep. He is generally very happy and hardly fussed. Might be time to cut down. Oh, this is me. Might be time to cut down to 4 naps. Oh, you said he's only 3 hours. Blah. Okay. Yeah, so as far as his naps go, he's falling into normal ranges for naps until he is, until they get closer to 5 or 6 months. Anywhere from 30 minutes, which isn't awesome, right? I like to see an hour once we get to about 5 months, but he's being pretty pretty on track developmentally with where he should be. So not a ton that I can say there with the information I have. Let's go ahead and go to Dana Staples. And she says she has a 10.5-month-old and naps. Wait, my 10.5-month-old naps habits are killing me. I feel like we're doing everything right. And my other 2 kids were amazing sleepers. I just cannot get her to nap decently long and consistently. She sleeps at night from 7 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. and she goes to bed 20 minutes after dinner. We rock and sing to her, then put her down awake with a blanket, and she goes to sleep great and on her own. Wakes 1 to 3 times in the night and usually will either cry for a minute or 2 or go back to sleep, or just needs us to lay her back down and we'll go back to sleep. No binky, bottle, or nursing. I'm shooting for 2 naps. I try and put her down at 9:30 a.m. We've also tried 10, usually 3 hours from wake time, and I know from the second I set her down if it's going to be successful or a total fail. Isn't that the truth? Like, you totally know. Exactly, like you know how things are going and if it'll be good or not. That is so funny and so true. I feel the same way. Half the time she'll lay... I'm losing my spot. Last night she'll lay down and go right to sleep. The other half she will refuse and scream bloody murder and be unbearably grumpy for the next 2+ hours. Then she'll take a nap, but only 1 to 2 hours. And if she takes a later morning nap like that, she'll almost always refuse her second nap that day, even though she's grumpy and exhausted. Some days she naps great, goes down easy in the morning for 1 to 2 hours, and if that happens, it's likely she'll go down easy again at 2:30 for another 1 to 2 hours. I'm so frustrated because when she takes one nap, it's never long enough to be enough sleep for her, and she's so grumpy that she's resisting to nap so hard. I feel like I can't make any plans because I have no idea when she'll want to nap between the hours of 9:30 to 4. Help. Okay, so Dana, what I would do is get super consistent with her nap times. I wouldn't follow, hey Carissa, yay, thanks for saying hi. I wouldn't follow the 3-hour wake period, like, oh, I'm going to put her down 3 hours after she wakes up. I would just pick a consistent time and put her down for her first nap, and pick a consistent time and put her down for her second nap, following the clock. Now, if she doesn't take her naps, she needs an earlier bedtime. I would shoot for like 6, somewhere between 5:30 and 6. And then secondly, I would say watch the time that you choose for that first nap. 3 hours is the longest that I would recommend going from when she normally wakes up. So if she normally wakes up at 6:30, 9:30 would be an appropriate first nap, but maybe somewhere between 9 and 9:30. The biggest reason that babies resist naps is because they're overtired. They're not getting enough sleep. So yes, if you choose a 9:30 nap and she wakes up at 5:30 that day, yes, you can put her down a little bit early, but you want to keep it around the same time so that she's consistently going down at the same time, so her body gets used to sleeping at the same time every day, and that will help lengthen out her naps. Okay, let's go to Hillary Weber. Oh boy, guys. She has a 4-month and 2-week-old. She says, I'm trying to start sleep training, pick up, put down method, but we live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Oh, it's so hard to do it in a 1-bedroom apartment. My heart goes out to you, Hillary. That's hard. Possible, but hard, right? Okay. So it's not possible for baby to have her own room. I'm still swaddling her, and she sleeps in a podster. I know we need to get her flat and unswaddled, but she sleeps so much longer swaddled than her podster. Okay, so here's the deal, Hillary. You can't actually sleep train if she's not laying on a flat surface and she's not unswaddled, because, 1, for safety, but then 2, being unswaddled allows the baby to self-soothe. If they're swaddled up and they can't move, then they can't self-soothe, and so they can't sleep train. They're going to be dependent on something. Or they're going to be fussing longer and harder. And so I realize that it's super scary to take that swaddle away. If you want to get a transition, I would recommend the Merlin sleep suit. And then you can transition away from the swaddle. And that works to sleep train because she can still move and use her arms and stuff to self-soothe. But whatever sleep training you do in a swaddle, you're going to have to redo when you take the swaddle away because it's not really sleep training, okay? I know it's scary, but trust me. You can take it away and she will be okay. Okay, but I'll finish reading your question. She wakes up instantly if I lay her flat. Any tips for room sharing? Yeah, she's waking up instantly because she doesn't know how to sleep flat. So she has to learn to fall asleep flat instead of waking up instantly when she's put down on a flat surface. And it probably will be a rough night when you first transition her, absolutely. Any tips for room sharing, sleep training? Yes, so if you have any type of divider, that works. You can put a sheet up, a room divider, something like that. I've had parents, if she's in like a pack and play, I've had parents, when they go to bed, they roll the baby out of the room so that they're sleeping in the living room, if that's a possibility. The oh my goodness, the least amount of times she can see you, the better, or the least ability, why can't I speak? If she can't see you and she can't hear you, she's going to sleep better. So any type of barrier that you can create in your room is better. Hey guys, if you're just joining us, give me a shout out, tell me who you are, I'd love to see who's watching, and then if I'm answering your question, I know if I can ask for feedback. Okay, she sleeps 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. to 5-ish, and then we have a little bedtime routine that we try to start around 7:30, 8-ish, but she will wake up and not be sleepy at all until 10 or 11. I usually nurse and rock her swaddled until she falls asleep. Our noises don't seem to wake her up. Good. I'm glad that they're not waking her up. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with her schedule. That's obviously a late bedtime, but something's happening. I mean, 8 to 11 is too long of a nap for the daytime. 1 to 2 is good. 4 p.m. to 5-ish is good. I'd probably break up that morning nap and see if she can't go to bed earlier, because what she's really sleeping is 11 to 11 pretty much is nighttime sleep, and that needs to be a little bit different. Okay, Melissa Nilsson. She has a 13-month-old. She wakes up at about 8 a.m., then fights a nap until about 11:30. Okay, so that's what, 3.5 hours? Naps for an hour, wakes to nurse, back to sleep for another hour. Like, she's sleeping 2 hours, and in the middle, she wakes up to nurse. Is that what you're saying? And then I cannot let her nap after 4, because then she won't go to sleep until 10 p.m. She usually will go to sleep at about 8:30 at night, then wakes up after an hour to nurse again. Then is up randomly all night long. Okay, yeah, so I think when you say she's going to bed at 11:30, she's waking up at 12:30 and then sleeping until 1:30. Okay, that is up randomly all night long. Last night it was every half hour. I nurse and rock her to sleep every now, and I'm sure you mean it again. So I assume she's falling asleep on her own. I don't know for sure. Okay, so a couple things that are happening. A lot of times babies will wake anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour if they are not getting enough sleep, and so I wonder if that's what's going on. 3.5 hours is kind of long in the morning. My ideal schedule, and Alyssa, you'll kind of have to tweak this for what your baby's doing, but my ideal schedule at this age is to wake up at 7, sometimes 6:30, right? So 6:30 to 7, take a nap at 10 for 1 hour, only a 1 hour nap. So 10 to 11, then wake up, and then take another nap around 2:30 for 1 hour. So she's waking up at 3:30, and then she's going to bed around 7:38, depending on sleep needs. So that's kind of the last nap schedule before you go transition to 1 nap. And so she might be ready to do that 14 months. I don't like to make that transition until 14 months, so I'd hold off and try to do a little bit of a better schedule for her. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to Alyssa Griffith. And she has a 2.5-year-old. She says she wakes up around 7 every morning, naps from 11-ish to 12:30, or sometimes as late as 2. Her bedtime is 7:30 most nights. For naps, sometimes I'll nap with her since I'm pregnant and mega tired. But for bedtime, she always goes to sleep alone. Sometimes she sneaks into bed to fall asleep. Sometimes she sneaks into my bed to fall asleep instead of her, so I'll find her there when I go to bed. Oh, but she's still falling asleep alone. Like, you go in there and you find her in her bed. Okay. Other nights she comes in anytime from 12 to 5:30. I try getting her to sleep on the floor next to my bed, but still ends up back in the bed. I'm so tired. Okay, I would adjust her schedule a little bit. At 2.5 years old, I would do a nap closer to I would put her down at like 12:45 and see if she can nap till around 3, and then I would get her up, and then I'd keep bedtime around 7:30 and see how she does. She may be waking at night because she, again, is overtired, just like I mentioned before. But she also may continue to wake out of habit. I'm like taking notes of my own advice. I'm writing, sleep from 12:45 to 3. Okay, like I don't need to take notes, but apparently I'm taking notes for you. So if you'd like them, let me know. Yeah, so I would do a later nap and then bedtime, and then she may continue to wake at night out of habit, and so that's where it just is constantly, hey, this is your bed, this is mom's bed, you sleep in your bed, mom sleeps in her bed. You could do a reward chart, different things to motivate her to stay in her room, and then the key will be that you wake up every time she comes in so that you can take her back to bed. So you will get less sleep for a while, but then hopefully it will pay off, right? Okay. So let's move to Carly Sheen. She has a 7-month-old, And she says he goes to sleep at 8 and it's good about putting himself to sleep. It's putting himself back to sleep that he can't do. Okay, he usually wakes up in the morning around 8, naps at 10 and 2, and sometimes in the evening if he doesn't take good naps. Okay, so the first thing I changed, Carly, is that, did I say your name right originally, Carly? Hey, Jenny. Jenna. Thanks for saying hey. I appreciate it. It's good to have you here. Yeah, Carly, I hope I said your name right. I'm having like flashbacks of me not saying it right. I don't know what I said. Okay. So the first thing I would do is get rid of that evening nap and do naps by the clocks. Yes, someday he's going to be more tired, but overall he should be more rested because he is getting the sleep that he needs. So if you think about it like that, what did you say? He wakes up at 8, he takes a nap at 10. That's pretty good. A nap at 2. I mean, I think those are good times. I'd probably go to sleep at 8. I'd probably move bedtime earlier. Instead of doing that third nap, just move bedtime earlier. Allison is here. Allison, I just answered your question, so you'll have to go back and watch it after. But I'm glad you're here, and thanks for checking in. Yeah, he could be waking up shortly after because he's just going to bed too late, so try moving that up to 7 or something. When he wakes up at night, I nurse him back to sleep, but I'm trying to stop that habit. Yeah, so you can do that in a number of different ways. The same sleep training method that you did when you sleep trained him, but move that bedtime up and see if that helps. Okay, Megan Vickler. She says, when do you know your little one is ready for 2 naps? Right now, my 6-month-old takes 3 naps. She wakes between 6 and 6:30, but seems still cranky, so she naps 1.5 to 2 hours after being awake. Like she's awake for 1.5 to 2 hours, and then she sleeps, I don't know. And then again, 11 to 11:30, then again 3 to 3:30 for a shorter nap. Then bed at 6 to 6:30. Just wondering wake times for when she does transfer to 2 naps and what her schedule would look like. Okay, so you can make the transition from 3 naps to 2 naps anywhere from 6 months up to 9 months is the very latest. And I'd recommend doing it like a little like 2 weeks earlier. So like 8.5. Start the transition at 8.5 months, so that by 9 months their transition. That's super late when you think about it overall. So, sorry, Allison. She says, "Dang, thanks," because she just missed it. But you can go back and watch it, or listen now. You might get your question answered with some other answers. And then Jennifer just tuned in. Great to have you here, Jennifer. Thanks for checking in. Okay, so back to Megan's question. So yeah, anywhere between that time frame, and your naps look pretty good. I think, because I'm not exactly understanding when they are, but you can start doing it by the clock because she's old enough. Or yeah, 6-month-old, so you can start doing that by the clock. And then when you go to 2 naps, generally that's a nap at 9 and a nap at 1:30, and then an early bedtime because they're not used to all that awake time. Okay, so we're going to go to Cherish Holland, and she has 18-month-old twins, and I have 2.5-year-old twins, so I always get excited when I get twin moms up here. And so she says they normally go to bed at 8 p.m., however, they wait for me to get home at 10 p.m. now that I go to night school. They won't sleep for Dad. Oh, isn't that lovely? That is a long time to wait up for Mom. I change them and nurse them and give hugs and kisses and lay them in their cribs awake with a white sound machine. Is that after you get home? That's what you go in and do? They talk to each other for a bit, then fall asleep without any problems normally. Or maybe that's normally what you do. They are waking up at 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Sometimes they wake up at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 2 to 3 times a night they are up. They have stopped being tired at 12:30 p.m. for their usual nap time, so they have been doing about 3 p.m. naps for about an hour or hour and a half max. Okay. Now, I don't know how much all of this is correlating together, Cherish. Did I say your name right? No, maybe not that time. That was a word. Okay. Sorry. I am so weird in here talking in a room by myself. It's just weird. I wish I could just invite you all over to my house and we could just have a little chat and then it would feel more normal to me. Okay. This is what's going on. Well, this may be contributing to it, is they're not going to bed until 10. Maybe, so they're not falling asleep at the right time. They're therefore waking up more frequently at night. Then the next morning they're more tired than they should be. And so waiting until 12:30, they're resisting their nap. And then they're not going to sleep until 3 because they're just totally zonked out. By taking that late afternoon nap, it actually gives them the energy to stay up until 10 again, and kind of we repeat the whole cycle again. So this is what I would recommend doing. I would stop going in when you get home from work because at some point they will fall asleep. Like if you were having a girls' weekend and they were home, they would eventually learn to fall asleep without you. So that's what they need to learn how to do. And then they're going to be overtired, and so what I would do is put them to bed for their nap, not at 12:30, but I would go earlier. Do you say what time they're waking up in the morning? I don't know if you are, but I would put them to bed like 15 or 30 minutes earlier and see if they can hit that idle time to kind of fall asleep earlier. 3 p.m. is too late for a nap, and most of the time kids are resisting naps because they're overtired. So 18 months is nap regression, sleep regression, whatever, there's one then, so that may be what's going on. So the more consistent you can be with when you put them down, possibly putting them down 15 minutes early so that they can get past this. My twins are 2.5, and they just went through a nap strike not too long ago, or regression, or whatever you want to call it, and what I did, I was putting them to bed right at 1 o'clock, and what I did is I ended up putting them to bed at 12:45 instead. So it doesn't make sense that your child's getting older, but we're putting them down for naps earlier. The reason we're doing that is because when we continue to put them down at 1 during a nap regression, they're fighting it, so they're not going to fall asleep right away. They're fighting it, and then they are missing that idle time to fall asleep. They're getting their second wind, and they're not taking naps. So by putting them to bed sometimes just 15 minutes earlier, you're getting to them in time so that they can soothe down and relax and be able to fall asleep at their normal time. Same thing goes for bedtime. So I just moved bedtime up even though they are getting older. I'm putting them to bed earlier because they're more active. They're in toddler beds now. Like, there's just things that's going to take them longer to wind down. That doesn't mean I put them to bed later. It means I put them to bed earlier so they can wind down on their own. Okay, Mindy Crisp. I'm sure you guys want to hear about all of my children's sleep stuff. I'm obsessed with sleep, so this is like the perfect job for me because no one actually wants to hear me talk about sleep as much as I do, but now I have an audience, right? Or I have a place to share all my sleep woes and journeys because it's what I'm obsessed with. Okay, so Mindy says, I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. The 3-year-old has trouble initially going to sleep. Takes her 35 to 70 minutes each night. Okay, so you may want to consider putting her to bed earlier. We'll see if you give me a schedule. My 8-month-old has trouble falling asleep on its own. So the 3-year-old sleeps from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. and takes one nap at 1 p.m. for about an hour and a half. Yeah, so I tried putting your 3-year-old just to bed like 15 minutes early and see what happens. The 8-month-old sleeps 7:30 p.m. to 5 or 6. He naps 3 times a day, once at 8:30 a.m., once at 12:30, and once at 4:30. Each nap's about 30 minutes. Ugh, that's not long enough. I want to see those first 2 naps to be at least an hour. So he falls asleep usually by nursing or his swing. Okay, Mindy, so what's happening? So your 3-year-old I put to bed a little bit earlier. What's happening with your 8-month-old is he needs to learn how to fall asleep on his own because he's nursing to sleep. He's waking up at his sleep transitions because when that sleep gets light, he wants to be nursing again. And so his naps are not going to lengthen out until he learns to fall asleep independently. So Mindy, you'd be a great candidate for my sleep training packages. I have 2 different packages. One of them is a silver package and one of them is a gold package. The silver package kind of gives you the information and allows you to do it on your own, but you get one-on-one phone calls with me throughout the process. The gold package is I not only give you the information, but I customize it 100% to your child, to your family, to your needs, to your circumstances, to your obstacles. We come up with a personalized schedule. Speaking of which, it's probably time to go to 2 naps because of that early wake up. Your child's probably ready to go to 2 naps. So you get all of that personalized, customized for you, along with 2 weeks of support. So you get email, text, phone call, you name it. I'm just there to answer your questions, support you, and walk you through it 100% of the way. Awesome package. I've yet to have a client who's not glad that they purchased that. You also get a 1-hour consultation before we start where I help you pick your sleep training method. I mean, it's just everything is taken care of for you. So awesome packages, Mindy, and that's kind of what your 8-month-old needs, along with switching to 2 naps. Let me check out comments here. Allison says, I started putting my kids to bed earlier because they get hyper before bedtime. So earlier helps. Yes, Allison, that's what I do too. And that I've noticed that kids have like this boost of energy right at bedtime. And I used to think like, oh, maybe they're not ready for bed. Maybe we should keep them up later. No, just put them to bed hyper. Like that is like their high before they crash. And if you wait for them to crash to put them to bed, they will hit their second wind and they will not sleep. And Dana says, hi. Dana, I already answered your question. You'll have to go back and listen to it, but I'm so glad you checked in and jumped in. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's go to Nikki Checkits. She has a 1-year-old, and she says, I'm wanting to adjust his wake-up time in the morning. 5 to 5:30 a.m. is brutal. Ugh, you're right, it is brutal. That sounds awful. You say he takes a nap at noon for 1 to 2 hours. Oh, Nikki, I have to write down what time it is so that I can put this on my outline. Okay, so he takes a nap at noon for 1 to 2 hours, and bedtime is at 6. He is nursed about, you said he's 1 year old? 1 year. Nap at noon. Okay. And bedtime is at 6. He is nursed about 15 to 20 minutes before nap time. And bedtime. So you mean like before you put him down, you're nursing him, and then he's awake for 20 minutes, and then you're putting him to bed. Then lay down awake with a binky. We've tried moving his bedtime a little later to let him sleep later, but that hasn't seemed to work. Okay, so moving bedtime later to adjust that morning wake up is pretty tricky. So he's pretty young to be on one nap. I don't know how long he's been on one nap. I don't know, but my first thought, and the reason most children wake early, is because they're going to bed too late. And we have a pretty decent bedtime of 6 p.m., so I don't, know if that's it, but I do know that his naps, he's only getting 1 to 2 naps, and so that may be contributing to it. And you may want to consider moving bedtime up even 15 minutes earlier. If he is only going to be on one nap, I would, I don't know what I would do. At 1 year, I prefer 2 naps, and so that's why I'm a little bit stuck here. I don't know if it's worth going back to 2 naps. I don't know. Yeah. Nikki, that is it. I'd really like to ask you more questions and really sit down for a consult that it's hard for me to give advice on this situation. So, if you decide to move bedtime later for it, my advice is to move bedtime later by like 10 minutes every 2 to 3 days up to like 30 minutes later. Give it 2 weeks, and if he's not sleeping in longer, then that's probably not the issue. Dana, great. Yeah, thanks. She says, thanks, I will go check it out. And Amber says, hi. Yay, you guys. Amber is a friend from high school, and she recently had baby boy twins who are adorable, by the way, Amber. And I've chatted with her about sleep before the twins came, and so I hope she's getting some good sleep. Okay, let's go to Cassandra Thacker. Oh, good. And we are just getting up to our 30 minutes, so we have a few more questions. She said, I'm going crazy. 11-month-old sleep has been all over the place. They are fighting both naps. Are these twins, Cassandra? She says they are fighting both naps and taking forever to go to sleep. They are also waking earlier in the mornings, which throws the schedule off more. Yes. What is the ideal 11-month-old schedule? We have been following 3, 2, 5, and 4 schedule. Bedtime is asleep at 8:30 and wake at 8. They are taking 20 minutes to fall asleep for naps, and twin is waking. And twin A is waking 30 to 60 minutes before usual wake up time. I do go by the clock for naps. They're usually at 11 and 1, 11 for 1 hour, and again at 3 to 4:30. Okay, so this is my ideal schedule. And you're going to have to adjust it for the 8 o'clock just because of time on here. I struggle with numbers apparently. So, Cassandra, at this age, 11 a.m. wake up. Okay, let's back up. A 7 a.m. wake up, and then do a 10 a.m. nap for 1 hour to 11. If they are taking 25 minutes to fall asleep, then put them to bed 25 minutes before 11, so before 10, so they fall asleep at 10. Yours would be 11 because I think they're waking at 8. And then in the afternoon, I want a nap from 2:30 to 3:30. Same thing, if they're taking a long time, put them to bed that much earlier so that they can hit it and be able to fall asleep. Up by 3:30, and then bedtime around 7:30, 7, somewhere around there. 11 months, yeah, somewhere between 7:30, 7:30. I don't want 4.5 hours. I want like 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours at that last one, and you're doing 4. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, the biggest thing, they're just going through a nap regression. I talked about this a little bit back in the video, so just go back and watch it. The whole idea of why we're putting them to bed earlier to get through the nap regression. Okay. So let's jump down to Jessica Hall, and real quick I'll go back and look at these comments. Amber says thank you, and Neely. Okay, Neely's talking about a question, so I've got to finish the ones I have that were submitted, and then if I have time, I try to keep my videos to 30 minutes. So I'm not sure I'm going to have time to answer your question, Neely, but you are welcome to submit a question tonight, and then I can answer it first thing next Tuesday. So if you go to my page, and in my pinned post, there's a link to submit a question. You just click on that, and it'll take you right to it. Okay, so let's go to Jessica. She's 14 months. She said, we recently just sleep trained her because she was waking every night and was inconsolable. Okay, now she's laid down at 8:15, 8:30, and will sleep straight through till 5 a.m. That's good, nurse. Then sleep till 7. She takes one nap at about 12 p.m. for 45 minutes till an hour. She's been night weaned for a while and doesn't nurse to sleep, but she will wake up at about 5 a.m. and will cry until she nurses. Then we'll go back to sleep until 7 a.m. How do I eliminate this nursing session so she sleep until 7 on her own? One way you could try it is to put her down for an earlier bedtime. That's not a ton of sleep for a 14-month-old, especially if her nap is only for an hour in the middle of the day. So I would, oh, Jessica, you're here and I'm answering your question. That's great. So yeah, I'm not sure how long. It sounds like her 12 o'clock nap is, she's waking up at 7. She's taking a 12 o'clock nap, which is a fine time, but it's only for an hour, and then bedtime is until 8:15. I want bedtime at like 6, and that may get rid of her early waking. Otherwise, if you continue to nurse her in the morning, she will continue to expect it. So until you take that away, I personally treat 5 a.m. as a morning wake up and not a night wake up, meaning they just kind of have to stay in their room until it's morning. I won't go in there. So you can do it that way. You can take away the nursing and still go in there. But it will probably take a while for her to realize, oh, I'm not going to get fed, and so I might as well just sleep longer. I'm working on weaning her completely, but I want to do it gently. She only nurses after lunch and dinner besides this session, but I feel like this will be the hardest to eliminate. You're absolutely right. Early mornings are the hardest to eliminate. But yeah, weaning altogether may help that as well. I tried letting her cry in her crib. She cried on and off for over an hour. Yeah, and the thing is that's not going to change over one day. Like, I always tell people, when you make a change to their schedule or whatever you're making a change to for an early morning waking, it takes 2 weeks to really see that payoff. So you have to be consistent for 2 weeks. Is this the right approach that will get easier? Hopefully, you guys, I still have a friend that her baby, we're doing one more change to see if it affects his sleep. 2 weeks, like I told her what change to make. She has 2 weeks to do it. And then I have another approach that we can try. But, yeah, I don't know. It can get easier. This early mornings are seriously the hardest one. Even sleep training at night, she never cried more than 15 minutes. Oh, and only a few minutes after that. Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. That's just how awful those early morning wakings are. So again, I don't have a specific package for this up on my website, but if you're interested in personal help, then what we do is have the consultation and make plans and do check-ins every 2 weeks so that you're have someone to be accountable to, which can I just say is priceless. And then you also get, if it's not working, you get, okay, what's the next step that we do? And then in 2 weeks later, okay, what's the next step that we do? So it kind of walks you through finding that solution. Okay, last question today. Again, if you didn't get your question answered, feel free to submit it again. You can submit it now, and then I can get to it first thing next week. I try to keep these videos to 30 minutes. As you can see, I'm not very good at that because I'm going over. But I try to keep them for 30 minutes just so people aren't on here forever watching everything for hours and hours. So I'll answer this question from Camille Larson, and then I'm more than happy, as some of you may know, I do offer consultations by every 15 minutes. So if you didn't get your question answered and you want the help now, let me know. We can get you a consultation scheduled. I charge $2 a minute, and you can schedule them at 15-minute increments. So Camille says her daughter's, or child, I don't know if the daughter is 2. She says, we dance back and forth all night. It's him, not her. Of him getting out of bed and going back to bed, getting out and going back and screaming the entire time, and always ends up in my bed before morning. And there's the key. That's why he's fighting it so consistently, because if he always, keyword always, ends up in your bed, then it's worth the fight every single night. And so until he can consistently not end up in your bed every night, he will continue to fight it because the fights are paying off. He goes to bed at 8:30, is up around 8:30. So he's 2, 8:39, naps at 12:30. I diffuse oils, read a book, tuck him in, and I go out. He sleeps in the same room as for your brother. Okay, so I don't know how long his nap is. 8:30 to 8:30. That's not bad, but his nap may be just too early. You might want to move his nap down to 1:30. If my ideal time is a 7 a.m. wake up, nap around 1. So sometimes that means putting them to bed at 12:45, but nap about around 1. But since you're doing an 8:30 wake up and an 8:30 bedtime, I would move that nap later because he's probably too tired when he's going to bed, and it may be increasing his wakings. Otherwise, you have to give him just sleeping in his bed. That fight can't pay off, or he will continue to wake and scream and fight. Okay, guys. Jessica, thanks. Earlier bedtime. We will try this. Good luck. I hope it works. Thanks so much for joining in. Again, if you appreciated the video, please give it a like, a love, a thumbs up, whatever. Share it. Let your friends know that this resource is out there. They may get the sleep that they need just from watching this video, having not even submitted a question. So also look for some fun blog posts coming up. And then there is hopefully everything works out, and my Studio 5 piece talking about sleep and sickness and how to preserve sleep while sick. That, I believe, will be airing Friday on Studio 5, and then the Mom Show, which will be airing Sunday at noon, and I believe it airs on FM 100 sometime on Monday, but I can't remember what time. So I'll post those. We'll be talking on the Mom Show all things toddler. So, that's like a doozy, right? All things toddler. That one's hard. But I'm excited for things that are coming up and excited for what we'll be doing here, so stay tuned. Appreciate your comments and your involvement here, and I can't wait to see you guys all next week. Okay, thanks you guys. Have a good night. Bye.